So what it did for me is not only did I get the weight off and the pants fit and I just recognize the girl in the mirror again, but I am eating pizza and ice cream and having a margarita like occasionally. I'm not going crazy, but like it allows me to just be who I was. It allows me to be who I was. And that is such a liberating feeling. It is such a liberating feeling. And I'm not saying that it's right for everybody, but in my experience and a lot of conversations that I'm having, it's been a total game changer. Total game changer.
Welcome to Suburban Warrior, the podcast that will impact, inspire, and empower you to transform your mindset and become the badass warrior that you are. I'm your host and fellow warrior, Chrissy Pfeiffer, former clinician and corporate marketing exec turned multi-passionate entrepreneur, performance and life coach, and mom to 4 not-so-little warriors. Each week, I will bring you honest conversations with inspiring guests to share their stories of resilience, optimism, success, and simple yet effective strategies so that you transform your thoughts and change your behavior to get the results you want in your life. You will be empowered to take action, warrior up, and believe in you. Let's do this. What's up, warriors? Welcome back to another episode of the Suburban Warrior Podcast. I'm your host, Chrissy Pfeiffer, and back again this week with another amazing suburban warrior here to share her story and expertise with us. I am thrilled to have my guest on today because we are going to talk about a whole bunch of different topics that are really so exciting to me. And I think a lot of women in this transformative midlife stage that we're in. We're going to talk fitness. We're going to talk nutrition. We're going to talk diets. We're going to talk GLP-1s, and we're going to kind of get into all of it. And I know I'm really excited for the conversation. So let me introduce my guest today, Kayla Johnson. With over 30 years of experience in the fitness industry, Kayla is a dedicated health and wellness professional, entrepreneur, and coach committed to empowering individuals, especially women, to achieve their fitness goals and embrace a balanced, sustainable lifestyle. As the founder and creator of multiple fitness ventures, Kayla is deeply passionate about helping clients develop consistency and discipline in their wellness journeys. She specializes in designing dynamic, evolving workout programs that foster long-term success while promoting a positive relationship with food and movement. She is a firm advocate for breaking free from restrictive diet culture, educating clients on how to properly fuel their bodies without deprivation. Kayla is the co-owner of Star Cycle Santa Barbara, an award-winning national franchise, and has been recognized twice as a Lululemon Athletica ambassador for her leadership in the fitness community. Her mission is to guide women through the unique challenges of midlife, helping them embrace their changing bodies with confidence and strength. Believing in a life of balance, Kayla supports her clients in achieving their desired results without extreme dieting or restriction. Her approach is rooted in sustainability, empowerment, and a deep passion for helping others lead their healthiest, most fulfilling lives. Welcome to the podcast, Kayla.
Well, thank you. It's so funny to hear about yourself like that.
I'm sure. So many of my guests say that.
I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted just listening to that.
I know, right? So many guests are like, wait a second, I've done all that?
I've done all that. You really do, but I guess I'm 49, so I mean, I'm not done yet, but I've had some history. Chrissy, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here on your podcast.
Absolutely.
I'm so stoked to be here.
I'm so excited to have you here. I know, you're out in California, so you're on West Coast time. I'm on East Coast time here. But I am so excited to hear about your perspective on fitness and nutrition, especially, the restrictive diet part that we've talked about a little bit before the podcast. So I want to get into all that. But first, I want to learn a little bit more about you. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this fitness world.
Yeah, I would love to. So I've been in the industry, as you mentioned, for 32 years now, technically, if we're going to get ticky-tacky. And I was a dancer my whole life, and I just chanced into fitness because I couldn't afford a gym membership. So I started teaching step aerobics. Do you remember step aerobics?
Yes, I did step aerobics very regularly back in the day.
right? So,
Absolutely. Uh-huh.
exactly. And
I was a dancer, and so I loved
oh, I
step
love that.
aerobics.
So you know,
You
right?
know,
Like
oh,
going
all the
from a dancer to,
choreography. Yes.
yes, all the
Hmm.
choreography, all the music. It was just like such an
Yes.
easy fit to go from dancing to group exercise.
Totally.
And still my first love, really. I love group fitness. I love community that's built with women in group fitness. It's just been such a heart space for me. So anyway, fast forward, I was doing that forever. I moved to Santa Barbara, California, born and raised. Moved to Santa Barbara almost 18 years ago, and got into the private space. Started Kayla Johnson Fitness. Kind of the rest is history there. And
Okay.
kind of a serial entrepreneur. Have started so many businesses in fitness, and just recently sold that spin studio 2 weeks ago. I
Wow, that's
know. I
amazing.
know. I know. Super
Congratulations.
excited about that. And I was able to sell the studio to a 29-year-old, just amazing woman who found our studio, started riding with us, working with me, lost almost 90 pounds, became an
Wow.
instructor, and then she purchased it a couple weeks ago. It's just been like so fun to pass that on. But that
That is
kind of
so
lends me
cool.
into this story called perimenopause, right? Like when we opened
Yes.
our studio 7 years ago, I was teaching 13 classes a week.
Oh
I
my
mean,
God.
besides the three pregnancies that I had, so I took a week. It wasn't a week. I took a month off after each pregnancy, but besides that month off, I've never not taught group fitness. It's really been a defining part of who I've been and through all the things, right? And I've always loved
Yeah.
it, loved it, loved it. But as we get older, that intense cardio, and I am a self-proclaimed, I need a recovery group probably because I'm still working my way out of it, but I'm a cardio bunny. I just have always
Yeah.
loved, we were indoctrinated into thinking that that was the answer, right? We had to burn the calories. Do you remember the stair stepper?
Oh,
That like,
yes,
I mean, like, and
absolutely.
not the stair mill, but just that little thing, right? That would just
Oh,
go super, super fast. So
yes.
yeah,
Oh,
so
absolutely. I spent many an hours on that Stairmaster.
exactly. So like, and
Yes.
that's what I'm doing now is I'm trying to like help us, circle the wagons and remind us that in this part of our lives and perimenopause, menopause and beyond, it's just killing ourselves doing the cardio is not cutting it. So really my story kind of begins with COVID. Have you heard of it?
Okay. Yeah, a little bit, little something about it.
So during COVID, I don't know about you, but I was pretty angry. It was a pretty awful time for everybody.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty collective. And I was dragging our spin bikes in and out of the studio multiple times a day. I was fighting the district attorney. I was just doing all the things and I was mad. And I was in perimenopause. I was 44.
Ooh, that's a
It was
deadly
like,
combination.
but I
COVID and
did
perimenopause.
exactly. But
Actually,
I
I
had
was
no
too, so
clue.
I know exactly what you
Okay,
mean.
okay. So you're in that vicinity.
Oh
So,
yeah. Oh
but
yeah, it was
I
bad.
didn't know anything about perimenopause. I mean, nobody was talking to me about anything related to perimenopause. To be honest, I don't think I even knew what the word meant, which is kind of embarrassing considering my, history. But I really didn't. I was just suffering. But because the world was upside down, everybody was suffering. It was really hard to identify. So the second defining part of that is my whole business went to Zoom. So besides pulling spin bikes in and out of the studio, I then took my private clientele onto Zoom because we weren't doing
Yeah.
anything in person, right? The world just kind of shut down. And I just had this like, okay, just to be clear, I can say this in hindsight. I didn't have any light bulb moments then. I was just
Yeah.
trying to like survive, okay?
Right.
But I did have this slight epiphany at the time where I was like, well, wait a second, I can get outside of my backyard. Like I can actually instrument change for women or people. At that time it was people everywhere. This is wild. And it did
Yeah.
never, I'm a bricks and mortar girl, I'm a fitness girl. So everything I've ever done has been in person. And it was just this kind of almost reinvention. I don't know if you ever felt that during COVID, but I was watching people just almost reinvent themselves on the daily because
Yeah.
you had a
Totally.
reason to. People were getting divorced. I mean, besides like the air fryers and the doodles, big things were happening, right? Like people were switching careers and moving. People were jumping ship out of California for sure.
Oh
And
yeah.
like just massive change was happening. So it was almost like this time of permission to
Hmm.
want to do something different. Well, I say that to say this. I was training primarily men, which is weird
Okay.
now, especially
Right.
4 years later, 5 years later. And I just had this calling, for lack of a better word, to go. Once I started to uncover that I was in perimenopause, I realized because I was so lost in my own journey that once I would figure it out, because I knew I would, which I did.
Yeah.
Once I figured it out, this is what I was supposed to do. All of those years, those 28 years at the time in the industry got me ready for this moment.
Yeah.
And it was real pivotal. And so, and again, it wasn't that pretty. It looks pretty now. Like
it never is.
It was so ugly.
Yeah.
The whole thing was so
Right.
ugly. But I had access to people, and people were kind of just at a standstill. So I just got my hands on as many women as I could. And I just did a lot of beta research, market testing, just figuring out like, how can I help you? And the same things kept coming up: not sleeping, belly fat, gaining weight, irritable, brain fog. I mean, it just kept coming up over and over and over again. And so I decided, this is what I have to do. I have to help women, and I need to create a program. That's where my 90-day accountability program came from, because I'm the lifestyle girl. Okay. That's where my expertise comes in, really teaching women how to build a lifestyle that's sustainable and how to create that lifestyle that works for them. Because I'm a one-to-one coach. We have to figure out, we're not cookie cutters, right? What works for me may or may not work for you, and vice versa, right?
Exactly.
So we have to figure out where you are. I'm really good at meeting women where they are and then getting them to the next level. The other thing that I do that I love is I work as kind of a concierge. So my scope is the lifestyle piece, but I love connecting women with, nurse practitioners. Maybe we want to do a lab test. Maybe we want to do a Dutch test or a blood test, right? To see where their hormones are. Maybe we want to introduce GLP-1 peptides. So I've got physicians on board with that. So it's been so fun to take women through this journey. So for me, again, always in the industry, right? Loved it, loved it, loved it. But I'll tell you what, it was very dark for me. Now I'm going to take you like about a year and a half ago. I'm still kind of telling you my story. Sorry.
I love it. I love it. Okay. I'm in. I'm hooked.
Okay. About a year and a half ago. And again, I'm the girl that has the infrared sauna, that has the cold plunge, that wears this dumb Oura ring that haunts me. It's like,
I have it too. I just had to take it off to take a break for like a month because
it's just like and my husband tells me, he's like, well, you want a good sleep score? Let me wear it.
Yeah.
I'm like, for crying out loud. But just really, it's like, I'm monitoring my sleep, because what we can measure, we can change, right? I firmly believe that. I'm circadian rhythm. I'm prioritizing protein and fiber and stepping, for crying out loud, and my weighted vest. I mean, literally checking every single box. I woke up one day and I just felt like I was wearing a sweater. Like, I'll just call it a perimenopause sweater. And this was not my imagination, because with the spin studio, I am constantly, as instructors, we're all documented. Birthdays, milestone rides. I mean, we're talking pictures, videos. I just have this like montage of photos of literally my body changing. So not only do my clothes not fit, and I'm doing all the things, okay, but literally I'm watching myself change. Like, I do not recognize myself. At this point in the journey, I had not ventured into hormone replacement therapy. I don't know about you or your listeners, but for me, I was very uneducated, which is so embarrassing to admit in hindsight, but I'm just honest. Somewhere in my brain, and again, no one talked to me about this, somewhere in my brain, I thought I would get cancer if I took hormones.
Yeah,
okay.
Totally.
So, and I had a period. I had a cycle. So I also thought that if I was still having a cycle, that I wasn't in perimenopause, and I didn't even know what the word meant. Okay, just to be clear, I just was super lost.
So this is you, and I just want to clarify, you and probably 85 to 90% of women, and still we're digging, we're climbing and digging.
We're climbing out.
Yeah, out of this. We're trying to educate, which is the reason I do this podcast and have guests like you on. So continue.
Exactly. So that's. I always say to my clients, there is no such thing as a silver bullet. Yeah. Okay. There is no such thing as monotherapy. There is not one something that you're going to do that's going to be the answer. And if you're looking for the answer is there is no answer. But I was really hoping it was hormone replacement therapy.
Yeah.
I was really hoping. I'm like, I know I say it, but maybe this is going to be the thing. Now, I think hormone replacement therapy is a community service. I mean, I was not yelling at people. I was not stretching people's eyes out. I was sleeping at night. I mean, it was absolutely life-changing, but it did not move the needle at all for weight loss for me
Yeah.
personally. Okay, everyone's
Yeah.
journey is different. And I want to be really clear
Totally.
to all of those who are listening to us that I am not a prescribing physician. I am not, diagnosing or giving out information. I'm just really passionate about sharing my story about where
Yeah.
I was, because the more conversations I have with women, the more I realize that we're all saying the same thing. And I just feel like I can't get to women fast enough. Okay, so we're
Agreed.
still, we're still in story time. Stop me at
Yeah.
any
Yeah.
point with questions. We're
No, I love
still in
it.
story
I
time.
love it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I get the HRT thing figured out. It's been like 8 or 9 months at this point. I'm realizing that yes, I feel better. It's not moving the needle. A little fun fact about me is I'm a bit obsessed with brain health. I am terrified of dementia.
Yeah.
And so I do a lot of research around brain health and what we can do to protect. I don't have a great memory. It's kind of where it all started from. And my kids think it's funny. It's not funny anymore because
Yeah.
it's just like, it's a thing. So a client of mine sent me a podcast about dementia in connection to GLP-1 peptides.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that doesn't even make sense to me. Obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, this is a bit of an unknown for a lot of people. GLP-1s can have a very natural anti-inflammatory effect, which would be why it would help with dementia. And I was riveted. But what was most interesting about the podcast is the physician that I was listening to was telling my story.
Yeah.
And she was talking, and I'd never heard microdosing of GLP-1 peptides. I didn't know. I was just like, I probably looked like a deer caught in headlights. And I'll never forget it. I was in
Yeah.
Mexico in the gym, and I actually stopped working out and I just sat down on a bench. I was like exhausted by the information because I couldn't
Right.
believe what I was listening to. And it was so weird to listen to a physician literally tell my story. She just kept saying, have you ever felt like you had just like this sweater on? Just like weight gain. I mean, I had cellulite on my knees. And to be clear, I still have cellulite. That's not the goal. Okay. But I had cellulite
Right.
overnight in the weirdest places that I had never had cellulite before. And it's not like I had taken a year off of fitness and went on a bender. And I mean, I was just
Right.
minding my business, doing all the things I was supposed to be doing. Right. So now here comes the second part of this story. Okay. So I'm the trainer. I'm the fitness expert. I'm the weight loss expert who is not in the corner shaming people on Ozempic. I want to be very clear about that. My sister went on it and lost 80 pounds. I have people all around me who've utilized it and lost weight, and I was the one applauding, always. I was never saying, move more and eat less, because I definitely know that's not working. I thought it
Right.
was a miracle for these people. I was so pumped about it. But never did I ever think that I was going to utilize the same product for 15 or 20 pounds.
Yeah.
In fact, I judged the heck out of myself. So much so that I wasn't going to do it, because this is what I knew. I'm super transparent, which you're probably learning about me. Like, what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
And
Love it.
and I knew, and I'm very present in my market, in Santa Barbara, and I'm very present on social media channels. And I'm not going to be the trainer, and I'm not saying anyone's doing this per se, but I'm not going to be the expert that comes on and is like, just eat more protein and
Yeah.
look like me. Like, I'm just not
Right.
going to do it. So I thought to myself, well, shoot, if I do this and if it works, I'm going to have to tell everybody.
Right.
And that felt
Absolutely.
really, really, like, not anymore, obviously, because here I am shouting it from the rooftops to anybody who will listen. But at the time, it felt very shameful. It felt like I was cheating. It felt like I was taking the easy way out. It felt like, but like in my gut, I knew that I had turned over every stone. So
Yeah.
that was also very incongruent, because I knew I was doing all the things I was supposed to be doing. So I had to rectify that in my own mind, right? And so
Yeah.
then I went to work. I just started researching. I just do what I do. I love information. And I just started doing all the research, and everything that I learned, I was like, wow, we have this thing wrong. Wow, this is so misunderstood. How is this even? I mean, again, I was watching people who had a real obesity problem around me just dropping weight. Like, it was a
Yeah.
miracle, and changing the conversation around food and just all the things that it does. But for women who are in perimenopause and who possibly are insulin resistant, this girl, it
Yeah.
moves the needle. Okay, so fast forward, it took about 6 months. Not only am I home in my body again with almost losing 20 pounds in that time, but what it did for me is it alleviated the pressure of being restrictive, which is such a hard thing to admit out loud, because any of my clients know this about me. I'm massively anti-diet culture. I'm massively anti-restriction. Anything that has a shelf life. Like I want to teach women to get a result with me, working with me, and a result forever. And you can't go on a diet and achieve that. It just has a shelf life. There's zero sustainability. But when you get desperate, you feel yourself going into that restriction because you're desperate. And
Yeah.
I get it. I mean, it created such a wild empathy in me. I can't even, like, up until this point, I've never really struggled. I've always worked for it, but I've never struggled. If I worked for it, I achieved it. And here I was in a situation where I was working for it and nothing was happening. So what it did for me is not only did I get the weight off and the pants fit and I just recognize the girl in the mirror again, but I am eating pizza and ice cream and having a margarita like occasionally. I'm not going crazy, but like
Right, right.
it allows me to just be who I was. It allows
Yeah.
me to be who I was. And that is such a liberating feeling. It is such a liberating feeling. And I'm not saying that it's right for everybody, but in my experience and a lot of conversations that I'm having, it's been a total game changer. Total game changer.
Yeah. Well, I also have done the research on the GLP-1s. I've listened to some podcasts, because obviously it's such a big discussion now. And of course, when, it's been around for years and
Yeah.
it's really blown up, I would say, at least in the last year, but it has been around for several years. And, the whole discussion around, losing muscle mass and using it in the right way and in a protective way. I will say when I first learned about it, I very much was concerned for women that were dropping these exorbitant amounts of weight and losing muscle mass, especially women, because women in midlife were already losing bone mass, were already losing muscle mass. So I do think, just like anything else, right? Nothing is all good and nothing is all bad, right?
Absolutely.
It's literally about understanding what it is, how it works, how it can work for you, how it's working for others. So I do think there are some physicians prescribing it in a way that might not be as healthy as it could be, or maybe not doing enough education around the product. But the more that I've learned about it, really just from a point of wanting to understand the health benefits of it, because I listened to a podcast that a friend sent me about microdosing GLP-1s, and I hadn't even heard of microdosing GLP-1s until I listened to this podcast. And it was literally a 2.5 hour podcast, and I listened to the whole thing because it was talking about the other benefits, the inflammation, how it can help with dementia, your vascular system, your gut health, like all of these protective things that GLP-1s have, which, just made so much sense to me. But again, that interests me so much, but you can really only get that from a physician can get it from a compounding pharmacy, because the pharmaceutical companies are dosing it high. So again, if
Absolutely.
you're I'd be curious to understand your perspective, because from someone who had to just lose 15 or 20 pounds, and also looking at it for dementia and inflammation and brain health, what kind of dosing are you looking at and what kind of dosing are you on? Because that's my thing. I'm always wondering who's dosing it. Are they compounding it? What's the deal? And I think that's where women get lost.
They do. And I get the craziest messages because that's the $1 million question, right? Is like, well,
Yeah.
what's your dose? It's like, well, that's not an easy answer. Okay. That's not an easy answer at all because
Yeah.
we need your, well, first of all, I'm not a prescribing physician, first and foremost. I
Right.
work in
Right.
conjunction with physicians. I know a lot about this stuff, but I am not an MD. So that's why the poison is in two things. Okay. The poison is in the dosing, which we just talked
Yeah.
about, and the poison is in the compliance. And if someone is not going to be compliant, listen, it just like anything, if you're not going to come to your wellness from a lifestyle perspective, why bother?
Yeah.
I
Right.
mean,
Well,
throwing
because
this,
I totally agree. Not to interrupt you, but I think you talked about HRT, talking GLP-1s. I don't think you can't out work out a bad diet. You can't GLP-1 out of a bad diet.
nope,
You can't HRT out of a bad diet. You literally, everything starts with your diet and nutrition. It really does. And then your
Absolutely.
lifestyle, sleep, your movement, if you're red light therapy, your meditative and calming practices for your cortisol levels. Like, I mean, it truly is a whole holistic, outlook, and we're all bio individual, and we have to figure out what is exactly right for us. And with that being said, now,
Yes.
these are all things to just add to the arsenal, right? There's, like you
Absolutely. It's
said,
a tool.
no
It's a tool in
magic
the
pill.
toolbox. Yep. There's no magic pill. It's not monotherapy. It's a
Yes,
tool in a
yes.
toolbox. I liken it to an orchestra. And there's a
Yeah.
lot of instruments in the orchestra, right? There's not just one
Love
instrument.
it.
There's so
Yeah.
many instruments in the orchestra. And so that's where I come in, or that's where a coach comes in. Because really, if you want to be successful on something like a GLP-1 peptide, you need someone working with you on
Yeah.
all of the lifestyle piece. You are not going to ever achieve what you want to achieve. Like you just said it. Okay, we're in an echo chamber. But like
Yeah.
if you are not willing to do all of the really boring, unsexy stuff. Sorry. Like
Yeah.
I say it all the time. You do not arrive on the doorstep of wellness, knock on the door, and come sit on the couch
Yeah.
and say, well, I'm so glad that's over.
Right.
Right? It's like
Right.
brushing your teeth. Like it never ends. You're on this journey until you're dead. So
Yeah.
it's figuring out a lifestyle that you can live with and be consistent with. And that's really where I come in is I work with people per person, per situation and say, okay, let's get to work. Let's go to the drawing board and
Yes.
let's figure out
Yes.
how do we build a house on a strong foundation. I don't want you to build your house on sand. I want you to build your house on a strong foundation. And then we add in all these little tools to kind of sweeten the pot.
Yeah.
But you don't start. So for example, if I'm talking to somebody who is not moving, has no idea if they're even prioritizing protein because they're not paying attention. They're having wine 3, 4 nights a week. They're in and out of restaurants. I'm not having a GLP-1 conversation with that person at all. I don't
Right. Right.
care if you know that I've been on them. We're not having that conversation. You're going to have to go elsewhere because what you need is you need a lifestyle. And
Yeah.
once we get our lifestyle intact, then we can have that conversation. So you're right. There's so many things that are coming into this. So there is a reason why these peptides have a bad rap because they're getting abused. And I
Yeah.
agree with you. There's a lot of physicians out there that are just slinging out these prescriptions because everybody wants them.
Yeah.
And they're not, and to be fair, it's not what they do. They're not going to monitor you, but there should be something in place. And that's what I
Yep.
tell people all the time who contact me. It's like there has to be a checks and balance here if you want to have some success. So the dosing, to answer your question, to go back to the
Yeah.
dosing part of it, when you're compounding this, and all of these things matter, like you got to be careful when you're shopping. That is the
Mm-hmm.
wild, wild west out there. And you need to make sure that you are getting these from a pharmacy, compounding pharmacy that knows what they're doing, that's safe, okay, which
Yeah.
is why you want to connect with somebody who knows what they're doing. So you can take just a small amount, and what that amount is very different per person.
Yeah.
When dosed correctly, there are no side effects. I've never had a side effect ever, not one day. And being on these peptides, I'm realizing even more for the person who has 50, 60, 70, 80 pounds to lose. Never had food noise. I'm not somebody who's ever really been controlled by food. I mean, I like, cinnamon bears as much as the next person. Maybe nobody
Yeah.
likes cinnamon bears. I love cinnamon bears. Okay. I love them, but they don't own me. Okay. They don't
Right.
own me, but the food noise is gone. I don't even know how to explain it. It is
Yeah.
for people. It almost can bring me to tears because for the people who have struggled and have been owned by food, it shuts the noise off.
It's
It's a
crazy, right?
miracle. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
And
So
it's crazy because it is like a peptide that we already naturally make in our
yes,
bodies.
yes,
So
yes.
we just don't have enough of it, apparently, because So it is really interesting to think when we just add more of these peptides into our body that it does that for us. So
Yeah.
besides the weight loss, did you experience any other benefits?
I noticed that, and I'm on other peptides. I'm on NAD and BPC 157. I mean, the peptide world is so fun. I mean, when you start,
Yeah,
it's like the GLP-1s have now opened the door to the rest of the peptide world, and so we're hearing
exactly.
more. The
Exactly.
biohackers are coming out and really talking about it. I mean, peptides are amazing.
Totally.
So I have to say, at 49, I feel the best I have ever felt. I mean, I feel like I'm firing on all cylinders. I don't know how else to say it. Do I still have brain fog? Yeah, I thought I couldn't find my car keys this morning. I called my husband and said, "Did you take my car from the studio?" He's like, "What are you even talking about?" Literally this morning, 5 hours
Yeah,
ago. I couldn't find my car
right.
keys. Okay, to be clear. But so like there's still some of that, but
Of
like
course.
overall, like aches and pains, I really notice that aches and pains are just, and I work out, I weight train hard. I lift really heavy 4 or 5 times a week. Okay, like I really, for being 49, I'm putting myself through the paces.
Yeah.
And my recovery and how I feel, I'm not a great sleeper, but a lot of that is my fault. I get to bed too late. I feel great. I feel amazing. But I'm also, again, I'm doing all the things. So I just feel so great. Like down the road, is this going to help with dementia? I hope so. I mean, I should stop.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop talking about it. I'm knocking on wood right now. I'm putting a lot of energy into that conversation. But
Yeah.
like it happens to be a thing for me. It just is. So yeah, I mean, I feel amazing. And I have to say a year ago, I mean, anybody who's listening, just take a gander onto my Instagram. And like, I'm not saying that I looked terrible. I'm saying that for me, I felt like a prisoner in my own body and I am back,
Yeah.
and it is liberating, and we all deserve to feel the best that we want to
That we
be. I mean,
can.
we all deserve that, like,
Yeah.
and so I get a lot of messages from women apologizing for wanting to lose 10 to 15 pounds. So I would like to just say to everyone listening, please stop doing that. Your
Yeah.
wellness journey is yours and you own it, and however you show up into the world and however you want to feel in your body is yours, and
Yeah.
you don't need to
Absolutely.
apologize for that or explain it. It
Or
just
we shouldn't have to feel guilty for wanting
no,
to feel good. I
no.
mean, whether it's about weight loss or about brain fog or about wanting our hair to stop falling out or our gut health to be better. I mean, I feel like there's just so many symptoms that we experience in midlife, and we've been dismissed for so long to just say it's normal or you're just getting old and just deal with it.
Hmm.
And that's over. Like
Yeah.
we have to be shutting that down for our daughters, for the next generation, because I mean, why we've accepted it for so
Hmm.
long, I don't really know, but we can't accept that anymore. We can't
No.
accept not feeling our best and other people telling us it's normal just because they're wearing a white coat. That is
Yes.
unacceptable.
Yes.
So, okay, so tell me then about some of these other peptides that you're on and why you're on them.
So I'm on the latest one that I'm on is on NAD, and the
Okay, I've
benefits of
heard about that.
NAD. Yeah.
Lots
So
of the buzz about NAD.
and honestly, like I started hearing about it, started doing some research on it, and I never even thought to take the supplement, or I mean, none of that even really. I don't know. I don't know why that didn't appeal to me, but I went straight to the injectable.
Yeah. Well, I
That's
actually
a little
think that the
telling of my
supplement,
personality. What was that?
yeah. Well, I actually, I think you should do the injectable if you're doing NAD, or it's either injectable or IV, because I think the supplement, I know the supplement is sold, but I think that the science behind the supplement shows, because it's going through first pass metabolism and through your
Mhm.
liver, you're really not getting the benefits. You're kind of just wasting your money.
Yeah.
So that's the science that I've read on it. Again, I'm not a prescribing doctor,
Yes,
but
exactly. I
I,
know
yeah,
exactly.
yeah. But so I think you're probably right to do that.
Yeah, and I just noticed like a more sustainable energy. I'm pretty high energy personality, but as I've gotten older, like just that lull, like staring
Yeah,
at my computer or
totally.
like on the phone or whatever, like that lull like between 3 and 4 where you're like I could just close my eyes for
Close your
just
eyes. Yeah,
10 minutes. And like that has just really dissipated. It is just
awesome.
gone. Like it's just a sustainable energy. And like I said, my body just feels really good. I really feel like I put my body through a lot. I'm very, very active, and my body just responds and it recovers. And I will notice another thing I wanted to watch with the ring is I wanted to not only monitor my sleep, but my readiness score. You wear an aura ring, so you
Yes.
know the
Yep.
readiness. And that is
Yep.
always, my sleep may not ever be great, but my readiness score is always pretty high, which I find really interesting.
Yeah.
So just like overall, I just feel so good. And again, but I want to say this one more time, not to beat a dead horse, but I also do all the things. I'm in the infrared sauna
Yes,
and I'm
right.
taking creatine and I'm taking colostrum and omega-3 and magnesium and I'm eating, avocado and tri-tip and eggs and cottage cheese for breakfast. I mean, like, and keeping alcohol at a total minimum. So, like,
Yeah,
yes, I feel amazing on peptides, but I'm also doing everything else. And I think
yeah.
that you have to point that out because you're not just going to jump on a peptide. And if you're not doing all the other things, think that it's going to be some kind of a miracle. Just like everything we've been talking about, it's
Yeah,
not one thing that's going to
absolutely.
make you feel better. But I
Yeah.
have to say, well, and now you know how it is. Like when you have a red car, all the cars are red. So now that we've even been talking
Yes.
about peptides, they're going to start coming across like
Oh,
coming
yeah,
across their
absolutely.
feed. Yeah.
Okay, so you said you're on NAD. I feel like the NAD has been touted as sort of like the fountain of youth peptide. You know,
Mhm.
who knows if that's really true. But then what was the other peptide you mentioned that you were?
BPC 157.
Okay, and what does that do?
And I wish I could remember what that stands for, and I can't remember off the top of my head. It's again, it's a big one for recovery.
Oh,
I'm
recovery.
telling
Okay,
you,
great.
these
Yes.
peptides I know
So
are
it's all
why.
recovery. Yeah.
It's all recovery stuff. Yeah. And I'm getting ready to go on something called Samoralin, which is like a
Okay.
human growth hormone, which is a
Okay.
really great. The reason why I'm going on this one is it's a really great one in conjunction with GLP-1 peptides, is it really supports muscle.
Okay.
So,
That's
and to be
awesome.
really clear, there's nothing about GLP-1 peptides that make muscle disappear.
Okay. Yes.
That's the headline that everybody loves to throw out there. That literally that's an impossibility.
It's just the rapid weight loss, right? Because you're
Well, if you're not
losing.
being compliant, if you're not being compliant, so if you're not prioritizing protein and you're not weight training,
Yeah.
okay, then you will absolutely lose muscle. Even if
Yeah.
you weren't on a GLP-1 peptide, if you were not eating protein and not weight training and being calorie restrictive and you lose weight, bathroom scale weight, you're
Yeah.
probably losing an absorbent amount of muscle instead of body fat. It's the exact same conversation.
Yeah.
So a GLP-1 peptide does not force muscle loss. Where the bad press comes from is that your caloric intake probably is going down because you're not feeling as hungry and you're not
Right.
prioritizing protein and you're not weight training and you're now losing muscle. Okay, that's probably the biggest thing that you're losing, which weighs more than fat on a bathroom scale. You come off of the peptides and you're still not doing the weight training and you're still not prioritizing protein, and potentially your appetite comes back, potentially. Well, what do you think happens? If
Yeah.
you've not learned anything, if you've not done any behavior modification in any of that time, you're going to be in a worse situation. So the compliance part matters. And everyone, and again, I understand headlines. I get it. It's clickbait, but
Yeah.
everybody
Yeah. Yeah.
wants to run over that. They want to run over the
Right.
compliance piece like it's not even a conversation. It's like, but it's the entire conversation,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh,
Do
totally.
it.
I completely agree. So let's talk a little bit about the restrictive diet part because I do
Yes.
think, like, for a lot of women in mid age, I see a lot of noise about calorie restriction, restricted diets, what you don't eat this, eat this. I mean, obviously, eat a lot of protein is a big story, but then it's like, well, eat plant protein or no,
Mhm.
you have to eat. Yeah. I mean, there's just so much noise out there about specific diets and then going into calorie deficits so that you lose weight and all this stuff. And it really, I think, can make your head explode. I mean, for me,
Agreed.
yeah, I mean, I've been on such a journey through this like perimenopause, menopause for the past like 12 years of my life. So for me, I'm finally at a place where I know what I can eat and I feel good and that sort of thing. But I went through a lot of restrictive years of don't eat gluten, don't eat dairy, can only eat this, go vegan. I mean, it literally is so crazy because for myself, and again, I think every single person's body is very different. It responds different.
Hmm.
I think when you are actually just eating a whole foods, unprocessed diet, it's amazing, how your body responds to that. It's not easy in this convenient world of grab and go food, but it is unbelievable how much inflammation will just shed and fall off your body when you actually eat nutritious food. but then I find myself getting caught up sometimes. Like if like there's a week where I'm not feeling great about my body and I'm like, oh shit, should I be in a calorie restriction? Should I not eat? Should I do this? Should I be fasting for 24 hours? Like all the things, you know, and I feel like it's like a little bit of a yo-yo sometimes. So tell me your perspective on all this.
I love that. And I think that everybody listening to us right now is probably nodding their head because I think we've all been there. And when you don't feel good in your body, it's funny how those demons come back.
They do, like instantly.
Instantly. And like, and we're all a work in progress. We never get there. There is a mystical place. So get over it, right? We're all a work in progress. But like, I think that if you're our age, are you my age? How old are you?
I'm 50. Yep.
You're 50, so we're the same age.
So same age.
Well,
yeah.
not yet. I'm 49 and holding.
Yeah.
To be clear.
yeah, exactly. You still got some time, girl.
To be clear, I'm in my 40s, Chrissy. But
exactly.
You know, we all come to the table with diet culture something.
Yeah.
You know, diet culture trauma. I was stealing diet candies underneath my mom's bed when I was 6 years old, and I watched them go on every single diet, you know, under the sun, and I dabbled in all of it. I mean, remember Atkins?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And like South Beach diet, and then the fun where we really got screwed up and got upside down was the fat-free diet.
Oh God, the fat-free diet. Are you kidding?
Fat-free diet. Like, I mean, like just
popping those fat-free cookies like there was no tomorrow.
Remember the snack wells in the green box?
I lived on snack wells in college. It's ridiculous.
It
the
was
whole
like
box.
free food, the whole box. Didn't even matter.
Yeah.
They were fat-free. It didn't even, I mean, like, doesn't it just make you cringe for what
It
we
makes
did?
me cringe because I think about how much I blew up from eating that food, and I'm like, oh, it's fat free. Like I literally could not understand why it was not. Fat wasn't melting off of me.
And like we all wonder why our guts are all inside out, and we have massive gut issues, right? I mean, it's just so we come by it so honestly. We are just a product of that time, and I completely agree with everything that you just said. I come from a very whole food approach, and most women that I talk to, we have to really unpack that diet culture because those demons are there. They run deep. A lot of it is subconscious. We don't even know that it's there, and everyone wants to count calories. And I am I've got to find a different phrase for it because I talk about a caloric deficit, which I'm going to define in a moment, but no one is ever allowed to count calories with me. Okay. And when I teach them how to nourish their bodies, they finally understand that they don't have to. It's so liberating, but they want to slide back into it all the time. So anytime, I think this is a really important thing for us all to remember, or for those maybe who are listening who've never really had this explained, anytime you are just paying attention to what you are doing in this world, you are prioritizing your protein, you're prioritizing your fiber, you are having microgreens, you're having broccoli, you're eating sweet potatoes, you are just paying attention and you're moving your body, you're going to be in a caloric deficit. It just is what it is. Anytime you are paying attention to what you are doing and you're moving your body, you are going to be in a caloric deficit, no matter what it is, no matter what you're doing. And I am not a fan of any diets. But I don't care if you're vegan or if you are carnivore. Like if you are just eating appropriately and fueling your body correctly, you're going to be in some form of a caloric deficit. It's not a negative thing, and you don't have to count calories to do that. This whole calorie restriction thing is so archaic. I cannot believe that women are still paying attention to it. I mean, even these food apps that we all utilize are still putting women on a calorie. Now, that is a huge blanket statement. That is a huge blanket statement that I just made, and it has to be unpacked, which is what I do, because then we go into the macro part of it and we start talking about, well, how much protein do you actually need? And let's start talking about sourcing our, because everybody wants to have the carbohydrate conversation. How many carbohydrates can I have? I'm like, let's just start eating whole foods. Let's just work on one ingredient foods and see where we land. And amazing what starts to happen with inflammation and the body just coming back to homeostasis when we are just using some common sense, which is I'm finding is not very common. And, like just using some, because listen, so then you're like, well, I'm doing keto. I'm like, okay, well, okay, but okay, maybe let's not. Maybe let's add some fiber into the equation. And then keto did this really great job of just packaging all this food. that says keto on
Yes.
it. And then,
Right.
oh, I'm gluten free. Well, just because you're going to grab some gluten free crackers or gluten free cereal or gluten free pasta does not mean that's good for you.
Yeah.
So the
It could be
diet
so much
culture,
worse. It could be
oh,
so much worse for your
it could
gut.
be so much worse. And so the diet culture is here. And
Yeah.
it is a sneaky devil, and it is constantly showing up. It's the, what is that expression? A devil in sheep's clothing, or what is
Oh
that?
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's how I
I
feel
think
about
that's
it because it's
yeah.
constantly repackaged. I don't care if you're at Air One down in LA or Whole Foods or wherever your fancy
Yes.
store is, it
You
is
have to read the
there.
labels.
You have to
Hmm.
read the label. It has just been repackaged because they want to sell you something. And
Yes.
bringing women back to just this common sense, whole foods, stop counting calories. Let's pay attention to our protein intake, our carbohydrates. I mean, I wish when looking at your macros that like your complex carbohydrates and all the rest of the processed bullshit out there was like in two different categories
Yeah.
on a, right?
Totally.
Like I'm thinking
Yeah.
about like the macro pie chart. I wish there was like carbohydrates, fats, proteins, and bullshit.
Yeah.
Because
And
it's like all those processed foods end up in that carbohydrate pie, but they're not carbohydrates. So everyone's
yeah.
terrified of carbs. It's the
Yes.
craziest thing, right? It's so crazy.
Totally.
So it's just a
Yes.
lot of common sense, but I also get it. I've been there. I've done every diet, every single diet. And when we were younger, guess what? They worked.
Yeah. Well,
They
yeah,
worked.
of course.
In
Yeah.
the short
Except the
term, in the short term,
yeah.
they created so much damage. But my point is like, if you followed a diet, right? If you followed
Yes.
it,
For
it
the
gave you a short term result.
yeah.
A long term nothing and a lot of damage, but in the short term, it did. And so we
Yeah.
all got into this pattern of thinking that that was the answer. And
Totally.
it's just
Well,
not the answer.
and we're still in that pattern of thinking it's
Yeah,
the
we
answer
are.
because it's even, I mean, think about it back in the 90s when we were the whole fat-free revolution. I mean, we were influenced by commercials on TV, right?
Yes.
And then what we saw in the grocery store. Now it's like thousand times worse because we are literally inundated with information
Yeah.
and we are getting the information from all these different sources telling us what we should be doing for our bodies, you know, which I hate that word should, you know, what we should eat, how we should move, how much weight we should be lifting, how much food we should be eating. You know,
Mhm.
it's just, there's just so much out there that I feel like, you know, again, what you do, what I do as a coach, like when sitting and talking with a client, it's literally about you and it's about your body as
Yes.
an individual, right? And what are you doing? What are your habits? What are you eating? How are you moving? How are you sleeping? Like all these things. And then any pharmaceuticals, any supplements, that's all just the piece of it, you
Yes.
know, like you had said.
Yeah.
But it really, if we could like go back and really keep it so simple, I truly believe that at the core of our health is going back to eating nutritious whole foods and
Mhm.
yes, of course, adding in the pizza and having some ice cream, once in a while. I'm not saying like all the time. You know, everything I in my life is 80/20. But like
Yes.
I really think that the one piece that's so simple is just not being done. It's just
Mhm.
not. And we're being told like, okay, yes, we'll, eat this and do that and take this supplement or go on a GLP-1 or go on HRT, which again are all amazing tools that we have in our toolbox and can really change our lives and the longevity of our lives and how we are going to be functioning at 60, 70, 80 years old, right? Because it's
Mhm.
what we do now that affects that. And I think these tools are amazing. But getting back to just our fundamentals and understanding like how our bodies biologically work and what they crave and how they were meant to function naturally, it's
Mhm.
really, really awesome when you start tapping into that and you feel those results and you realize like, yeah, my body's like a miracle. And if, as long as do what it's asking me to do, it responds. It's
Yep.
really amazing.
Yeah, and but it's amazing how many of us have strayed from that or have
I feel
never
like my
even
whole
really lived
life.
there. Yeah, or have never
Yeah.
even really lived there because we've always been looking for the quick fix or the answer or the one diet that's going to work. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm amazed. I talk to a lot of women and I'm amazed at what I hear.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Listen, if
wow.
there was an option my entire life, except for maybe in the last 5 years, if I walked into a store to get a snack and there was an apple and a bag of pretzels, I'm 1,000% getting the bag of pretzels, thinking that's a healthy option.
1,000%.
Because it wasn't potato chips, it was a bag of pretzels.
Yeah.
So why would I eat an apple when I could have a bag of pretzels and be healthy?
Exactly. Yeah, and they're all carbs, so I might as well have those carbs.
Exactly. It's convenient. It's crunchy. I mean, come on, like that.
Exactly.
But, I mean, and that's our whole lifestyle because, I'm 50 years old. My whole life, there's been processed food around me. And so that's how we've lived. And that's how almost my entire generation has lived,
Absolutely.
and
it's time to learn a better way. It's time
to learn a better way. Yes, absolutely. Oh my gosh. Well, Kayla, I have enjoyed this conversation so much. I feel like we could talk forever because we didn't even get into the fitness. We talked so much about peptides and the GLP-1s, which I think that's such a great conversation because it's out there. Everybody's talking about it. I got to be honest with you, like on my TikTok feed, I don't know why, but like I get these GLP-1 like live videos of people trying to sell people GLP-1s. All I want to say is caveat this conversation with whatever you decide to do for your body. I think that's amazing. I think everyone deserves to feel healthy, but please, please, please find a reputable source. Yes. Find a reputable, whether it's whatever practitioner, physician that you are going to, make sure that they are reputable and knowledgeable about the products. And also whether you're getting it from a pharmacy, great if it's already packaged, or a compounding pharmacy, because I do think there's a lot of really shady crap going on.
Really shady. Thank you for saying that. Yes, really shady. Do your homework.
Well, do your homework because I kind of feel like some of the videos I see, they're going after people that, I don't know, just may want to try it, might want to take an easy way out. And listen, there's no easy way outs. There's just not. So you got to do the work. You got to find the doctor. You got to find the pharmacy and then do your thing. I mean, it's the same for HRT, like you said, you didn't even know perimenopause, what it was, hormone. It took me 5 years and I did know perimenopause, and it took me 5 years to find the right doctor to prescribe me hormone replacement therapy. One, because most doctors wouldn't even prescribe it because of, the WHI study. And then I needed to feel very comfortable with the doctor prescribing it, that they were looking at me as an individual, checking, exactly my hormones, what it was that I needed, that they were knowledgeable and reputable and knew exactly what they were doing. 5 years it took me.
That is so, I was frustrated over a year. That is so unfortunate.
It sucked. And I will tell you, and people have probably heard me say this before, but when I did find that right doctor and she sat me down and we had our conversation and I told her my whole story, her first words out of her mouth was, "It is medical malpractice that no one has given you hormone replacement therapy
1,000%.
In your 40s. Because when I started on this journey, I was 43 and I couldn't find someone until I was 48 to prescribe it.
That is so unfortunate.
Doctor after doctor after doctor. So they either said, "Oh, you're fine, you don't need it," I think, or they didn't know how to prescribe it, or they said it was going to kill me.
Yeah. Snake oil.
So that's
snake oil is my
the gaslighting going on.
The gaslighting is unbelievable. And the world needs women like you and I who are just talking about it, and all the other crusaders out there that are just talking about it and giving it light and saying, no, I'm going to just go on to the next doctor. But hopefully this just gets better with awareness.
Absolutely. All right, Kayla. So tell my listeners, where can they find you?
Yeah. Easiest place to find me is on Instagram, Kayla Johnson Fitness.
Awesome. Kayla Johnson Fitness. Okay. Well, thank you so much, guys. Make sure you check out Kayla at Kayla Johnson Fitness on Instagram. We'll be sure to link it in our show notes. And you can find me at Suburban Warrior on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. And be sure to go on to Apple or Spotify and click the follow button, because the more you follow us and maybe leave us a rating and review, which we would really appreciate, the more likely we are to get these episodes out to women like you who need to hear these episodes, because women really can benefit from these conversations that we're having and also this community of empowerment that we're building. So be sure to click that follow button and join Suburban Warrior Community, where we are redefining midlife wellness with grit and grace. So we'll be back next week with another amazing Suburban Warrior here to share her story. Until then, have an awesome week. We'll see you next time.